All right, boys, this is part two of linebacker reads. Today's date 7/12/2011. I think it's correct. So let's talk about 30 linebacker reads. Well, if I tell you you're a 30 linebacker, what does that mean? Well, again, you know the techniques indicate that this is a 1 technique, that's a 3 technique. If there were a 3 technique, you'd be located here. If you're a 30 linebacker, you're going to be lined up behind where the 3 would be in an alignment like that. That's a 30 linebacker technique. Let's agree to that. And remember, we told you there's 3 parts of the triangle. As a linebacker, you read the triangle, and the first part of the triangle that you read is the down lineman. In this case, this uncovered guard, or this guard who's in your field of view as you look at the near back, is the first part of the triangle. So this is a read of number 1. This is going to be a couple slides that talk about the read of the first key. And again, the triangle is looking like this, from here to here to here. Not quite symmetrical, but this is your triangle. This is your area that you're reading. So in these slides, let's look at a 30 read based only upon read number 1, which is going to be the near guard. So again, this first set of slides is only based on the read of number 1. All right, so here you're a linebacker. You're keying through the guard to the near back. Your line of vision is like this, and you see on the snap of the ball, you see the guard down block. That's a down block, as we call it. This indicates you to get downhill and fill the gap. You're a B-gap player, but you're going to step downhill, as we said, which is a movement towards the football, and put you in pretty good shape right there. So that's a downhill read, reading just read number 1. Also, you can get a base block. A base block is when the guard comes out to block you like this. As he comes to engage you, we step downhill to engage him, keeping our outside arm and shoulder free so that we can be the B-gap player. Again, I want to say again, as we look at these particular sets of reads and blocks, this is only looking at number 1. Remember, we told you in our last presentation that you really have to go to your second read to confirm your first read. But before we get to that point, let's just look at our reads, reading only our first key. In this case is the guard. So we said a moment ago, if he down blocks, you fill. You go downhill. Second block scenario we can see is where he comes out to block you. We come downhill again. A downhill fill using our hands to shed the blocker. He can pull. A pull means he's moving away from the football like this. In this case, we're going to mirror him. You know, his motion is like this. Our motion is similar. We're trying to work over the top in this case and keep outside leverage on the football, which is right here. And by the way, kids, if you see in the diagram a closed-in circle like this, see how these are open circles? This indicates this is the ball carrier. Where you see a dash like this, this means the ball's been pitched to him or thrown to him if you saw it downfield like that. So, again, down block, come downhill. Base block, come downhill. A pull block, mirror him and get outside leverage on the football. A trap block. Fellas, a trap block means the guard you're keying is going towards the football. And as he pulls, this is called pulls, he pulls across the football probably to trap a 5 technique located over here. You've got to yell trap. You got to scream it. Just like we tried to scream wetsuit today, you got to scream trap so that this linebacker knows we anticipate seeing a trap scheme. So as you yell trap, that's going to tell this linebacker to get downhill and try to blow up the trap and avoid the reach block, or in this case, let's say the down block by the tackle over here. We're going to have to use our hands to beat him, but I'm suggesting you're this linebacker, you're keying this guard, you hear, or you see the trap block, and you yell trap, which tells this guy to come downhill, and you fit into the backside A gap over here. Excuse me. As the gaps expand, so will we, and you'll end up in the A gap. That's a trap scheme. Here's a zone scheme. A zone scheme, in this case, is a block by your guard you're reading expansion. This is expanding. He's moving away from the football with his movement. So he's expanding. So as he expands, we're going to expand with him. And this indicates, too, is probably some kind of running play to the outside and possibly even beyond. But as he expands, we expand, because, you know, as a 30 linebacker, your responsibility is this shoulder, which is the outside shade, which is a B gap. Zone block, zone read. This is a scoop technique, which I think we mentioned in the other set of slides. A scoop block indicates probably flow away. But again, just reading number 1, if you see the guard, this is not a pull, except he's going to bucket. He's going to try to get under this center. It's a bucket step that puts him in position to overtake the nose so that the center can scrape up to the backer over here. This is a backside technique. And this should signal alarm to us that we're going to go ahead and we're going to squeeze and begin to move this way with the football, because it indicates probably that the ball is being run to this side. and we would keep inside leverage on the ball carrier in that scenario. Pass block's the high hat, you know, and it may not be as dramatic as this, but when these big linemen pass block, generally their hat comes high, the hips go down, and their hands come out. So if you see pass block, then you're going to drop to your assigned pass responsibility. It could be the hook curl, it could be the number 2 receiver. Based upon the defense is called, you have to go to your pass responsibility. I was looking at 10 linebacker reads. Maybe you're a 10. Keeping in mind what a 10 linebacker is, you know, here's the one technique. You'd be lined up right here. But if you're a 10 linebacker, then you're going to be lined up right over here with your inside foot lined up behind where the 10 would be. So again, let's look at these, but only looking at the read of the number 1 part of the triangle. As a rule, again, first you read the number 1 read, then you look at number 2, and if number 2 confirms what you saw from number 1, then you're good to go. But if you get a conflicting read from your number 1 key and your number 2 key, and more examples what that means in a second, then you've got to go to number 3. There's 3 parts of the triangle. Right now we're saying in these slides we're looking at right on this particular program, we're only looking at the number 1 read. So let's say we got it. So you're a 10 linebacker, he down blocks. Well, this is a down block, right? He's moving towards the football. And whether you're reading the center or the guard, we may, this is still subject to debate, but let's say we're reading, in this case, the center. If you read a center and he down blocks, this indicates you to begin to move downhill. If you look only at your first key, this indicates possibly some kind of run coming in through here. And we want to be a downhill, forceful player. That's a down block. If he base blocks you, let's say we're reading a guard and he comes up and base blocks you. That means he's blocking you. This guard is coming to block you, you know, in this tunnel somewhere here, then you're going to come downhill and attack downhill. That's a base block. The other thing you do is pull. You see he's expanding. He's going away from the ball. He's pulling like this. So then we're going to mirror him. As he expands, we expand. And again, then we'll go read our key, our number 2 key, to see exactly what we're going to do. But expansion by the guard indicates expansion by you. So we're going to move along with him. Trap is where he pulls across the football like this, as we said a moment ago. You've got to yell the word trap. You've got to tell this linebacker that we're seeing a trap scheme, in which case he's going to come down as he goes through his read progression. And you're going to fit into the backside A gap looking for any cutback or anything that might wash back that way. That's a trap scheme. Guard pulls, and again, if just looking at the number 1 read, that's a trap read to us, and we'll trap. The other thing we can see is a zone block, where we see this kind of motion here. It looks like everything is expanding this way. Zone block tells us that the ball is probably going out here towards the edge, maybe in an outside zone play or a sweep or some combination of outside looks. Well, it's outside because the ball's expanding, because your guard's expanding. You're going to be expanding with it. You're going to try to stay outside of the ball carrier. You want some outside leverage because you're going to get your other linebacker coming in here behind you. And this is also the scoop scheme. You know, so let's say you're a 10 linebacker. Scoop scheme, remember we told you, indicates that the ball is going this way, that there's something happening play side. This is the play side. This would be the back side. And in this particular scenario, this indicates flow away, but you've got to look at the near back to see if he might not be coming back. It's a little complicated, but I'm suggesting you just based upon the number 1 reads, which is what this set of slides indicates. This indicates you're going to begin to go towards flow, which is this way here. That's a scoop scheme. Again, pass block, high hat. You're going to drop hook to curl or to your number 2 receiver, whoever you're assigned, pass block. And let's leave it at that. So guys, all these reads we just looked at right here are reads where we're looking only at the number 1 read. Part 2, done.